Recently I've been shooting a lot more fashion work and fashion inspired portraits, and I'm trying to make more of an attempt to document that on this channel, so that's kind of what this video is. This week I had a shoot with my roommate and his girlfriend, and they were both really cool. The concept for the shoot was kind of like workwear inspired clothing, so because of that we shot in a pretty industrial area and I shot a lot of black and white, but for now enjoy the footage and I'll talk more about the photos later. Maybe like right one. Yo, this is sick actually. Can you guys both take a small step? Like put one arm maybe on Andy's shoulder. Like your foot a little out? Yeah, sweet. So obviously the camera I was shooting with was my Mamiya RZ67, which by now I think people know is kind of my favorite medium format camera. I think it works really well for portraits, and it definitely worked really well on this shoot. I only brought one lens with me, which was the 65mm. This lens is for the RB67, but it works really well, and I think it was about $100. I like that it's a little wider than a standard lens. A 65 comes out to about like 32mm on a full frame digital camera or 35mm film. I knew that because I was shooting two people, I'd want to shoot on a wider lens, so that's why I went for the 65mm. So the reason I'm doing mainly black and white on this shoot is because I want to do all analog prints in the darkroom at school. Later on I'll compare some digital scans with the darkroom prints, but I have some more photos to show you, so enjoy. One more. Step that way a little actually, so yeah, perfect. And then you can lean. Yeah. Wait, you can put your blue jacket on. 3, 2, 1. How can you do your chain again? Overall, I'm pretty pleased with how these came out. I definitely shot 4 rolls a lot quicker than I usually do, but all of the photos were well exposed and everything looks great. I think it was actually nicer to have a little bit more photos to select from when I was trying to print in the darkroom and trying to scan the photos in. When you're shooting quicker, you tend to get a little bit more candid moments too. Like there was one photo in particular where they were both laughing, and I think if I was shooting very slowly and savoring the rolls like I usually do, I wouldn't have captured that. And it's definitely an interesting way to switch up my shooting style. So as I mentioned, I printed a couple of these photos in the darkroom for a project at school. In the same way that people shoot film as opposed to digital cameras, because it has an analog quality, you can make analog prints as opposed to digital prints, and similarly they have this analog quality, and I really enjoy that about these. It's kind of hard to see on camera, but you just have to kind of compare in real life the inkjet print to the analog print, and there definitely is a difference. Anyway, it's just fun to compare the two. I'm not against either. I like the way both of them look. The scan and inkjet print is definitely easier and also a lot cheaper, but the analog print has some kind of analog quality to it that I really like that you don't see in the digital print. I think what made these photos successful wasn't that it was shot on an RZ67 or that it was shot medium format. I just think the styling worked really well with the location that we were shooting at, and the models were a great fit for the clothing, and they were comfortable with each other, so they had a good interaction. I feel like those were all things I overlooked when I started shooting, and I was worrying too much about what camera I was shooting with, but definitely what made this shoot stand out from others that I've done was just everything about the subject matter instead of how I was shooting it. I could have shot this on any camera, I feel like, and the photos would have been pretty similar. At the end of the day, it was definitely the styling, the location, and the models that made this shoot successful in my opinion. This is just me rambling, but I think I'm definitely just learning more about how important that the subject matter is of the photo as opposed to how you're shooting. The color photos are definitely my favorite. I think the skin tones came out super cool. When it's cloudy out, there's just this nice even white light that makes skin tones really flattering and beautiful, and I think that worked really well on this shoot. For my light meter, I was just using my Sekonic L308X, which is an incident meter, and you hold it in front of your subject, so you basically read the light that's falling on them instead of pointing it at your subject, and it's really unbiased because no matter what your subject is, it understands the light instead of the reflected light, and I think this works really well. Let me know what you thought of this video in the comments. I really like making these fashion videos, and obviously these are the photos that I'm kind of most passionate about, so I definitely want to do more of these. Also, I bought this mic, which I hope doesn't look too awkward right here, but I think it sounds really good, and I just hated the audio that I had before. Also, if you have any suggestions for a photographer that you would like to see a photo talks video made on, definitely let me know. Send me a DM on Instagram or let me know in the comments. I'm always looking for new people to make videos about. Recently I was also a guest on the Analog Talk podcast. If you want to go check that out, I'll leave a link in the description. We just talk about photography, cameras, and everything film related. It was really cool to be on, and
I love that you're 19 in 2018 in a dark room spending 7 hours. Like that just, my heart is full right now.
I think what attracts me most to it is just like the physicality of it, especially when it comes to the final product. A print is always physical, and that's why I've been so obsessed with Polaroids, is because it's physical and it's also instant. Like,
major shout out to those guys for having me. I also need to give a big shout out to my homie Roman, who helped me film this video. I'll leave his Instagram in the description, and if you haven't already watched the photo talks video that I made on him, I'll also leave that below. Also, if you want to check out my Instagram, I'll leave it in the description. I post a ton of stuff just like you saw in the video, as well as just my own work, so that will be down there. That's it for now. Peace.